Hello, everyone. Welcome to Chat with Kat. Today, we're talking about home insulation, which is so very important in our crazy cold winter weather. And today, I've got Chris Ehry from Expert Insulation. Welcome, Chris, and thank you for joining me.
Oh, thank you, Catherine, for having me. It's my pleasure.
All right. So I know the one thing that I have been experiencing the last few years has been attic rain, and I've asked a bunch of people, how do I fix this? And everyone's just like, it's kind of just part of like new homes now. And I'm like, that can't be, right? So I know by asking questions over and over again, the one thing that I've found that seemed to work this year has been lowering my humidity in the home. And despite, it kind of contradicting what we want because of the dry air, we feel like we want more humidity, right? So our skin's not like peeling, but then it's not good for the home, right? So we have to learn to dehumidify basically, so that it prevents some of the ice buildup on our windows as well as in our attic. So can you talk a little bit about that and anything else that we might need to know when it comes to insulation?
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting that you bring up attic rain, because right now with the last month of this crazy cold weather and then mix in some warm spells, it is wreaking havoc on people's homes, quite often. And what you're talking about there, a lot of people are getting attic rain. And I'll start off with just explain a little bit about what attic rain is. Attic rain is basically when, there's a heat loss from your home escaping into the attic. It's being trapped in your attic space. Therefore, the hot air is in your attic space, the cold air is coming in, hot meets cold, boom, you have some condensation. This condensation has to go somewhere. So typically, what it does is the condensation attaches to your roof decking, causing ice, causing frosting, and it kind of just sits there and builds up until we get a thaw, until the weather warms up. Then that frost or ice has to go somewhere. So when it starts melting, when it starts warming up, that's when you actually will hear that trickle of rain in your attic space raining down on your insulation, on your drywall, and eventually water will find the lowest point. It'll find a breach in your drywall, and then that's when you start seeing ceiling staining, and that water is coming through into the home.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a tip maybe to get rid of that ceiling stain?
Yeah, a quick little tip for this ceiling stain is if you take a water bottle, a squirt water bottle, a spray bottle, and mix in 75% water, 25% bleach, and you just spray the stain and leave it. Don't rub it, don't do anything with it. And that's supposed to turn it back to white, to its original state.
Mm-hmm. I know I've watched some YouTube videos on that, and it says not to completely soak it, just mist it, don't soak it, and repeat as needed. Have you ever tried it?
No, I haven't tried, but we've had some clients try it. We always tell clients, like, once we try to fix their attic rain, their ice damming, any ceiling drip, stuff like that, to give it one season, give it one winter to make sure it works, because there's no guarantees with Mother Nature involved. And like you were talking before, every home has an X factor, and one X factor could be the humidity. If the home's humidity is high, it's going to overrun your insulation, ventilation regardless, and cause issues.
Okay. So if somebody is experiencing something like this, and other than humidity, what else can we look for?
Yeah, so basically that's where your attic is very important and part of your home. We call it the forgotten room. No one really thinks about the attic space until you have water dripping out of your light. Possibly on Christmas Day, you're cooking a turkey dinner, it's -30, and all of a sudden you look up and there's water coming out of your light, and that's where the panic sets in, right? So we always try to tell people, have your attic assessed for free, get your assessment done, be proactive, and try to combat that attic rain before it starts. But basically, how attic rain happens is there's heat loss from your home. So your home is warm, 21 degrees Celsius. Your attic is an unlivable, unheated space. It's supposed to be the same temperature as outside. So when that heat rises and breaks through your ceiling or your drywall, then the hot air gets into your attic space. Once it's in your attic space, that's where the trouble begins. So to combat it, you have to start with your drywall or your ceiling of your home or the floor of your attic space, whatever you want to call it. We try to seal that tight. We start with a gasket around your attic hatch door. Just like your front door in your house has that gasket, it's very important to have that gasket on there to ensure your attic hatch door and the lip are sealed properly, or it's a big spot. Hot air will leak from your house into the attic. Then you also want to insulate that attic door tight with insulation. Then you want to air seal your ceiling. So basically we take spray foam, we go around, find as many breaches as we can in the attic, as far as lights, bathroom fans, your ABS pipes, could be some central vac ran up there. Any breach in the drywall, we foam with spray foam, just trying to keep that hot air in your house, filled up with a whole bunch of insulation, and that's trying to keep the hot air in your house. But unfortunately, heat does rise. So eventually it's going to come into your attic space at some point, and that's where step 2 comes in, and that's ventilation, which a lot of people don't think too much about ventilation in their attics. They're more focused on, give me a top up, let's upgrade my insulation, which is great, but it is a 3-step process. You need your insulation, then you need your fresh air coming in through your soffits or gable vents, some kind of penetration on the lower roof line to bring fresh air in. And then at the top of your roof line, you have your hot air exhaust vents, such as maxi vents, turbo vents, or even flat static vents, getting that hot air out. So you have the fresh air coming in, hot air out. You have a constant 24 air exchange, keeping your attic space cool. Therefore, you don't have that hot meets cool and creating that frost and ice on your roof deck, in which will eventually turn into attic rain.
And there's, we talked about this before with the different types of vents, right? There's those static ones and then those turbo ones. Can you talk about the difference and the advantages of that?
Yeah, for sure. So at the top of your roof line, anything from the midway on your roof line and up is for hot air getting out of your attic space. So you'll see the flat 12 by 12 inch low profile static vents that most homes have, and they are Alberta building codes. So they are recommended by Build Canada and whatnot. But sometimes in Edmonton and Alberta, they become snow cover. So the flat static vents are trying to let that hot air out of your attic space. But in the last month here, December 2021, January 2022, our snow is so thick and deep, it's just covering them. So what we suggest is the turbo vents, Duraflow turbo vents, or a maxi vent, whereas they're 16 to 18 inches high, they're high on your roof line, they don't become snow covered, and then the hot air can expel out that vent, therefore not trapping that hot air in, and definitely trying to slow down the ice damming attic rain issues.
Awesome. And speaking about insulation, when we're doing an inspection on homes, the inspector always measures how much insulation there is, right? So, if you don't have enough, how are we supposed to check the R value? What's the minimum R value? And how do we check how much R value we have in our attics?
So basically R value is the measurement they use for insulation. And it's an R value, meaning heat resistance, like resistance to heat loss. We're not trying to keep the cold out. We're really trying to keep the hot in. So the R value is how we measure insulation. Basically, it comes down to inches. So in your attic, usually you're getting blow-in insulation in your attic. And there's 2 types of insulation. Basically, it's fiberglass or cellulose. They're both blown-in products. They're both good products. And it just depends how deep you want to go. In Alberta, building code for homes is pretty much R50 these days. And for cellulose, you're looking at just over 13 inches. And for fiberglass, you're looking somewhere around the 17-inch mark. So it's quite a bit. Often homeowners and even some inspectors will be like, oh, the attic was good, Chris, it has 6-8 inches. And we're like, no, those are old codes. The new code since 2016 is R50. So you have to be looking, 13 to 17 inches minimum. Some people even go up to 2 feet in their attic, up to R70, R80, and that's fine too these days.
Oh, that's really good then. There, you
Yeah.
shouldn't have any heat loss from that, other than from all the gaps that you might see. And the attic hatch is something that's really common actually when we're doing inspection. A lot of times the inspector will say, hey, there's a little bit of gap here, you should fix that, right? And it's something really, really simple, but it's definitely out of sight, out of mind, right? So
For
you don't
sure. That's why we call it the forgotten room, right? And some of these attic hatches, they'll be in unique places in homes. Sometimes the home builders, they put them in different areas for different reasons. And you'll find them in washrooms and you'll find them in washer dryer rooms, which is a very warm room to begin with. You have your hot, humid air coming from your dryer vent or from your showers and baths. So it's very important to get that attic seal gasket on the lip of your hatch door to try to seal it tight, put a whole bunch of insulation on top, because realistically, you have a 2 foot by 2 foot breach right in your attic space where that hatch is. So the more you can seal that, the better.
So maybe if it was like in the laundry room, something to do is maybe just not close the door then, just to prevent too much heat from trying to escape that room.
Yeah, you could leave the door open for sure. Let some of that hot air go back into the house rather than everything rising up into your attic space.
Yeah. Okay.
And if we go back to humidity too, humidity is a big one that we're finding these days. And your hardwood flooring installers will tell you you need humidity at certain rates, and that's true and whatnot. But when you're talking humidity in the home, relative humidity seeping into the attic space, we are having a big problem with that, and it can wreak havoc. A lot of people don't understand or even realize that we have an Alberta humidity chart that we should be following. Sometimes it'll be right on your thermostat. If you look on your thermostat, it'll say on there when it's -30, your relative humidity should be 15%. When it's -24, you can go up to 20%. But when we get those really cold snaps, it's really important to check your humidifier on your furnace, see what the humidity is set at, buy a little humidity checker to see what your humidity is at your home. Even your thermostat may have a humidity checker, and watch that chart and follow it, because it's very important.
Yeah, and I just posted that I think last week. So I'll probably post that again in the comments below so that you can take a look and check. Like, I know that I always thought my humidity was around 30%, until somebody came and they're like, no, it's at 35. I'm like, who the heck changed it? I'm like, I certainly did. So even though you think it's at a certain percent, double check. If you're having issues, if you're seeing ice around your windows, like, that's definitely time to check.
For sure. And little things that people don't really understand. Your humidifier on your furnace will give off the most humidity in your home, but have there been any changes in your home? Have you had any life changes? For instance, did you have a baby? Maybe that baby has a humidifier in their bedroom all of a sudden for obvious reasons, and that's really popping up your humidity in your home. Maybe you moved your parents into the basement. Now you have 2 more adults cooking, cleaning, showering, running the washer dryer. That'll pop your humidity up as well. So it's not always just based on your humidifier on your furnace. And that's where, we inform our clients how they need to purchase a dehumidifier to dehumidify that home, because sometimes you just can't get it down using your furnace humidifier. You need that dehumidifier.
Oh, really? Okay. Oh, I've only ever seen a dehumidifier in Hong Kong. Like
Is it
who?
cold there too?
Well, no, it's for drying their clothes.
Oh, yeah.
Because otherwise,
Interesting.
like it doesn't air dry, right? It's too humid there. So but here
Okay.
I would never even think about getting a dehumidifier, right? Unless it's for some, maybe like some restoration after some water damage in a basement. That's the only thing that I could think of that you would normally need a dehumidifier, but that makes sense. If you have a new baby, you don't want it dry, right?
Right.
But yeah, okay. And the other thing that I only recently like figured out was like, um, when you are showering, make sure you have the fan on, right?
Yes.
Um, I didn't grow up doing that. So that, I'm learning things through experience, through not my experience, but like through following home inspectors around,
Yeah.
and learning things every day. So, and I'm still constantly learning. And I've been in real estate for 11 years now. So there's always something new to learn. Is there anything else when it comes to insulation that we can do? Like, is it just attic that we're looking at, or is there other areas?
Yeah, like your rim joists in your basement are another big heat loss area, and they can bring some cold in for sure, because your rim joists are basically where your house sits on your foundation wall, and it's got that little overhang for stability and structure and whatnot. So when your feet are cold on your main floor, that's always from your rim joists. Your rim joists are leaking cold air constantly, and that's where we can come in and we can spray foam them tight. Spray foam's a great product, has a good R value, and it seals really, really well. You don't have to worry about any gaps or cracks getting through, because it comes out as liquid and basically turns into plastic.
Mhm.
And then just going back to your bathroom fan there too, bathroom fans are very important. It's very important you use them. I know kids hate using them. My daughter, she'll have a long shower and not turn the fan on. And I'm knocking on the door, like, turn that fan on, because I know how important it is, right? So turn that fan on, but also leave that fan on for an hour after you shower. Get all that hot air, humid air out of your bathroom, not only out of your bathroom, it'll be in your hose in your attic space. So you want to evaporate, shoot that hot air right out, into the atmosphere, into the, just outside, to dry that hose. Because if you turn that fan off right after a shower, that hot, humid air is stuck in the hose. Well, it's going to be -20 in your attic sooner or later. Then it's going to freeze. The next time you shower, that's when you get the water dripping back in through your bathroom fan grill.
Oh, that's really good to know. Yeah, and there's also those automatic buttons now that a lot of the newer homes will have. It's kind of an upgrade, but you can basically, push a button for 30 minutes, 1 hour, 15 minutes, whatever you need, right? So that's always convenient to have if your kids aren't responsible enough to turn things on. I know my kids are just learning still to do it themselves. And sometimes they need a little reminder, but yeah, it's definitely something that we need to educate more people on. But I don't know if that's common knowledge, but
Yeah, like technology is helping us in a lot of different ways, right? So you have those automatic bathroom fan toggle switches that go on, you hit an hour, it stays on for an hour. There's also special thermostats out there as well, that they will sense the temperature change outside, because according to our humidity chart, every 8 degrees Celsius swing in temperature, you have to physically turn your humidifier up or down. Most people are busy, everyone's working, cooking, cleaning. So to think about that humidity every 8 degrees shift, which is sometimes what, twice a day in Edmonton, it's a lot of work and no one does it. They now have these special thermostats out there that will sense the temperature change outside and automatically turn down or up your humidifier on your furnace. So you don't even have to think about it.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. Is that something like the Nest thermostat or?
Yeah, something like that. I'm not a real techie person, but one of my clients had it recently and it's fancy and it had nice red lights on it. Yeah, it was like a Nest thermostat, something like that.
Okay, something for me to look into now. Thank you.
Yeah, they say if you're not learning, you're dying, right?
Absolutely. Constantly learning. I love learning. So yeah, is there any last things you want to tell us, show us?
Well, right now the big thing is there are really good rebates out there. The green energy programs are out there. They're running. If you live in Edmonton, between your City of Edmonton rebate program for upgrades to your home for anything energy efficient, for insulation, hot water tanks, furnaces, high efficiency furnaces, stuff like that. If you're in Edmonton, you can use the Edmonton rebate program plus the federal government program. And if you're just talking insulation, if you have an older home with R12 or less, so say about 3 inches or less of insulation, but after everything's said and done, between the City of Edmonton and the federal government, literally you can get 75% of your total invoice back. It's quite large when you mix them together. The rural areas, Sherwood Park, St. Albert, Leduc, places like that, you can just use the federal program, but even then you can be looking at 35 to 50% rebate.
And would everyone qualify for that, or is there certain qualifications?
Yeah, no, everyone qualifies, as long as you have, a lower amount of insulation. If you already have, 14, 15 inches, you still can qualify. You just will get a lot less back. It may not be worth the pain and the hassle of doing all the paperwork, but yeah, every house is eligible. We can put a link in the comments there too after if you like to do some research on that, but it's pretty straightforward too.
Awesome. Yeah, I know the last probably 5 years or so, I've seen a lot of different types of rebates. There was once, I think there was this one for solar panel, and anything. I think the city is really pushing energy efficiency. So yeah, I know there's tons of rebates. So yeah, this is something a lot of people need to kind of look into. It might just be a matter of paperwork, but yeah, it's going to save you thousands, with the install as well as in your utility bills, right? So it's definitely something to look into.
Yeah, they just Google City of Edmonton rebates, Canada rebates, home energy efficiency rebates. It'll all come up on there, and it's pretty easy to follow along and apply.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. And I think you're coming over to my house to take a look as well.
We'll see if we figure out that attic rain for you for sure.
Yeah, I think it's mostly under control, but you know what? If we can make it even better, let's do it, right?
For sure. Awesome. Thanks for having me, Kat.
Thank you for joining me. Have a great day, everyone. If you have any questions about insulation, this guy's the expert. And we'll drop his information down below as well. All right. Thanks, guys, everyone. Bye.